Hello, everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. That's right. Everyone's a fan of something, and we've got something for every fan. And Fan Nation, it's been a while. It has. It's been a while. I've missed you. I really have. I will be 110% honest and upfront. I have missed you all, and we've got so much to catch up on. I mean, I was going through it, with the 30-minute warning. I was like, this will be no big deal, just a casual Wednesday. We're coming back from December? Like, we were off since before my birthday. Thank you for the birthday wishes, by the way. I do want to sincerely thank you. But I mean, look at what we've got to cover. Look at this. You can't see it if you're listening, but if you're watching on Facebook, look at this. Every division, sports, football, nonsense, it's all there. It's all there. We've got a lot of ground to cover, but we've got 60 minutes to do it. We've got an interview that I saved from CGS, Rod Newhouse, son of the legendary Robert Newhouse from the Dallas Cowboys. He was the financial guru at CGS. Saved up his interview for today. I wanted to come back strong with a really good one. I felt really confident. We wrapped up the showcase with that episode, with that interview. And then, of course, producer Rob, Cleveland Rob, is going to join us today, right as he gets off work, because Cleveland didn't suck this year. In case you missed it, let's go right into the headlines. And for those of you, after the headlines, you're going to need to tune in Spreaker.com, which is where this is broadcasting to you live from within Fan Cave Studio right now. So you're going to need to go to Spreaker.com. Link is in the thing, Spreaker.com/user/The Fan Show, and you can listen to the rest of the episode. Otherwise, you're not going to be hearing it on Facebook Live. You're not going to be able to hear it. So let's get into the headlines. So first up, Cleveland didn't suck, but man, that tie, because they had to win their last game in order for the Steelers to get into the playoffs and in order to have an over 500 season, but they didn't. So the Steelers did not. And the Browns did not have an over 500 season. Valiant effort, though. I will applaud them. Okay, applaud. That doesn't get the applause soundbite. That gets an actual clap from me. Okay, so Cleveland didn't suck. Steelers didn't get into the playoffs. The Ravens did, and they did nothing with it. Same with the Seahawks. They got into the playoffs, one and done. Big surprise there. And 49ers, they didn't make the playoffs either, in case you missed that. They did not get into the playoffs, and that was sad. But we saw that coming, I think, week 5. Yeah, we were ready for it, really, so I'm not too surprised by that. But the funny thing about Cleveland is that what if that tie would have been a win? They could have lost that game and finished 8-8. They could have broke even 500. What if? If it was a loss, though, it wouldn't have mattered. That last game wouldn't have. But I think Cleveland, there's a lot to take away from that. And we'll let producer Rob get on here, and he can jaw jack for a while. He can tell us all about how great his Browns were this season and how bright of a future they have. I think Baker Mayfield's a good kid. I think he's the real deal. So to recap, 49ers didn't make the playoffs. The Seahawks did. Whatever. The Final Four I did predict back in November on the Social Hour After Dark with Dees Casillas. I said it was going to be Saints, Rams, Chiefs, Patriots. Pretty good, right? I then went on to say that it was going to be the Rams defeating the Chiefs and Drew Brees would ride off into the sunset. Apparently, though, because of a controversial no call, the Saints are still trying to get into the Super Bowl. There's a full-on lawsuit filed. I don't know if you saw this, but yeah, there was an attorney in New Orleans that has filed a suit against the NFL because of Rule 17, Article 2, Section 2, Article 3. And it says that the commissioner, Roger Goodell, has the authority to overturn what he feels was one of those, just like an act of God kind of thing. Goodell's not going to do that. He won't. So it will be the Patriots and the Rams in the Super Bowl, unless legal whatever. I don't even know how that would play out. I hate how much the legal system gets involved in the NFL lately. I know so much about our judicial process, though. In Major League Baseball, I don't follow the sport, but I do when there's big news. Hall of Fame was announced. Edgar Martinez. That's right. He's getting into the Hall. Go, Edgar. Finally, about damn time. And Mariano Rivera. First ever unanimous vote into the Hall of Fame. So props to them. Props to both those guys. Very good, very good. IFL, the Indoor Football League, the countdown to that season is underway. We're going to start having players and coaches come on the show regularly, just like we did last year. The NAL, National Arena League, announced 2 expansion teams, technically. One expansion team, the New York Streets, and then the return of the Orlando Predators after a 2-season hiatus, I think, 2 or 3. Anyway, they're back, and then CGS was fantastic. I want to thank everyone once again. I know I did yesterday with Jose's wrap-up and recap with me, but overall, it was a fantastic experience. The players were great, and the staff was phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to seeing where these kids go from here. In music, Real Big Fish, they were in town. I got to speak with them again, so you can check out that music special episode, which posted on Monday for Music Monday. It won't be a regular thing, but we are going to try to do a special for each division. This, of course, will be the regular broadcast that you hear right now, but a special for each division once a month moving forward. That's the goal for 2019. So next up will probably be Hell's Bells. They're in town. They're in Spokane at the Knitting Factory Friday, and Elephant Gun Riot is going to open for them. Back to the Beach Fest was announced, and Blink-182 will headline. That takes place, I think, the last weekend in April. Goldfinger, The Used, Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, all of the fun bands are going to be there. So try to get tickets to that. It's going to be down in Long Beach. And pop culture news, Black Panther. That's right. Marvel's Black Panther received 7 Oscar nominations. 7 Oscar noms, including Best Picture. Best Picture. That's awesome. And Infinity War, 1 nomination. Not Best Picture. So you can color me shocked on that. I don't know how that happened. I thought Infinity War was a fantastic movie. I think, they probably gave it to Black Panther just because, I don't know, it was really good too. It really was. It just happened to be in the same year, so whatever. And Lego Movie 2 comes out next month, so mark your calendars. In robotics and technology, BattleBot Season 4. The rumor is that it's going to happen same time, same place. So midway through April, last 2 weeks, in Long Beach. And don't quote me on that. I cannot confirm that. However, my source, as you would say, is a rather reliable source when it comes to this particular topic. Outdoors division. All-Star Bass Fishing's first ever Bass Bowl was a smashing success. Congrats to Bobby Brown. And I've challenged him to a fish-off with our custom Willamette Weapon lures that I have sitting up here. You guys probably saw the photos. But that should be fun. I don't know what the winner's going to get or what the loser's going to get, but it'll be fun. It'll be good. Wrestling. All Elite Wrestling. That's right. The Cody Rhodes wrestling production is a thing. It's happening. They're working out a television deal right now. Major names, of course, the Young Bucks. It looks like Kenny Omega, but Chris Jericho is the first big WWE name to, I guess, defer. And it looks like it could potentially start up what was Monday Night Wars again, depending, of course, the network, the TV deal, the night, and the time. But either way, this is great for wrestling. We get more variety. Wrestlers get more options. I don't know what the pay will equal out to, but if you don't have, kids and a mortgage and all that stuff, and you feel like you're either entering your prime or you're in your prime as a wrestler and you're doing house shows for WWE, if you can sacrifice maybe a couple of zeros on your paycheck, there's no reason why, not to make that jump and be a star somewhere else. You see it all the time. And the Royal Rumble is coming up this Sunday. That's right. The Royal Rumble, 30 men, 30 women, not together, but there will be the 30 men Royal Rumble and 30 women Royal Rumble. Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar, Universal title. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE title. We've got Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's title. And then, I almost said Ronda Rousey again. And then Becky Lynch and Asuka for the SmackDown Women's title. I'm looking forward to it. I think this will be probably one of the better Rumbles that they've had. Of course, it is one of the big four. You've got Survivor Series, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam. So they do kind of pack a lot into it. But I think this one will deliver. So that is Sunday. I believe the kickoff show starts at 3, and that'll start at 4. Pacific time, of course. Otherwise, adjust accordingly. Brian Hicks has signed, a quarterback formerly of Green Bay, has signed with Tucson. We're going to have him on either later this week or next week. I've heard of a few other player signings. I'm going to try to get them on. And then, of course, Dixie Wooten, the reigning coach of the year, not only the fan shows, but the IFLs, and the reigning IFL United Bowl champion coach, Dixie Wooten, will join us next week. And I'm trying to think. Larry Fitzgerald is returning for his 16th season with the Arizona Cardinals next season. It was confirmed today. And was there anything else that I missed? Hopefully not a crucial call at the end of a game that could seal it for the Saints and send them to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. That was such a bad non-call. Like, it was a great... I truly believe that Championship Sunday is better than the Super Bowl. And this week can kind of prove that. But for those games to end like they did, that was tough. Especially that one. That was tough to watch. So, Pro Bowl is this weekend, if you care. Not many do. But that is, that's the headlines. So for those of you watching on Facebook Live right now, click the link. Tune in to Spreaker.com/The.Fan Show. And you guys can hear my interview with Rod Newhouse. And, of course, producer Rob to talk about how awesome the Browns are. So we will see you guys or hear from you in a little bit. Don't forget, there's a chat function on Spreaker. So if you have a comment, you can also tweet at me at FanShowOfficial. You can message me on Facebook, facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. Give us a like. Check out all the content from CGS because we did Player Spotlight one-on-one interviews. It was the first time that we had tried something like this with the Fan Show, being on assignment, on location. I thought they turned out really well, and that's not just me tooting my own horn. I really feel like they turned out very, very well. So go and check those out. Give it a like. Give them a share. Give these NFL hopefuls some love. Shout out to Kenneth Van Huel, who is a hero down in Fort Worth. And a shout out to Vinny Papali. My knee is feeling much, much better. Wasn't broken, nothing torn. We're about halfway there as far as the healing process. So, God, that was crazy. All right, that's going to do it for our headlines. So we'll see you on Spreaker. All right, so as we continue, like I said, we're back, and we're back, and we're having fun, and it's been such a long time. I was like, am I going to forget how to, how to do the show? I don't know. But anyway, so I felt that we should just, not overwhelm ourselves, obviously, but if I got through some of the key talking points, I know that there's so much that happened at the end of that NFL season, that there was so much to cover, but really, I mean, wrestling and football are probably two of the most oversaturated markets when it comes to podcasts and audio content. That's why I love the IFL and arena football, because I'm not white noise anymore, and I do appreciate those of you that listen for NFL and wrestling content. I feel like we do a pretty good job here sometimes, but it's tough. It is tough competition out there, but this is one of the only shows you can listen to that can say it is an award-winning podcast. And congrats to the fantasy footballers. I know I wasn't nominated for an iHeartRadio podcast award, but they went up against, I think, Levitard and Cowherd and came away with the win. So props to them. That's good stuff. That's what you strive for, really. But I would love to be nominated for one. It's kind of one of those things where I never really understood what a player meant when they won a championship. And then it's like, what do you do now? They're like, you try to win another one. It's like, is it going to feel any different? Absolutely. Each one's different. Like, you talk to a guy that's won 3 or more championships, they'll tell you that every one of them is different. That feeling never gets old. And when you start a podcast, I mean, it might be different in 2019, because looking back, I started this before I even knew that podcasts were like a thing. And I think I was a few years behind the initial wave of podcasts, right? And so now it seems like everywhere I go, I see someone starting a podcast. Do I feel like I've inspired that in some way? No, not necessarily. But I do know that this is going into our 4th year, and it's been a great 3 years going into our 4th year. And this is the time, I think even after 1, that a lot of people probably would have called it quits and hung them up, the headphones, I guess. Either way, though, when you start a podcast, you don't really think that you're going to, I guess, win an award, or be nominated for an award, let alone win one. And when I was nominated for one a year ago, I was just like, God, could I win? I don't know. And then I won. And it's like, now you want to win again, right? You want to be nominated. You want that feeling back. So I know that it might be apples to oranges, but still, I feel like I can relate to guys that have won multiple championships, and every time they say that it feels different from the other. I'd love to be nominated for one of the, especially for the iHeartRadio podcast, because I'm on iHeartRadio. You guys can download and subscribe to the F.A.N Show on iHeartRadio, as well as iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. So there's many ways. The F.A.N Show comes in many different flavors, including our divisions. It was new at the end of last year. We launched the divisions, and we have since had content for just about all of them. BattleBots, that was still under the main F.A.N Show banner, but we do have a tech and robotics division now, so that if there's a next time, which hopefully there is, we can address it appropriately. But I don't think there was any love lost for there being a football-themed logo at a fighting robot competition. I don't. But we do have our outdoors division, which is doing very well. I was actually surprised. That was the 6th and final division. We weren't even going to have one, and then somebody mentioned it, and I asked. I was like, you guys want an outdoors division? A lot of people are like, hell yeah. Like, everybody fishes, I guess. Some people hunt, but there's a very select few that do not enjoy time spent outdoors. So, hence the birth of the outdoors division. Music has been good. Pop culture, though, that one's been a little tough. I've been using that for if we do comedy specials like with Mark Morris, which we didn't during the football season because there was Monday Night Football and it was just too hectic to try to schedule that during the game. It just got really tough because I would be invested in the games on Monday night and want to talk about those the next night on the show. So apologies to Mark Morris. It was nothing personal at all. It just happened to be poor scheduling. We tried to figure something out, but now that the regular season is over, we can probably resume that. I'm sure Mark would be happy to have me back, and I'd love to talk to more comedians. So with that, let's go ahead and talk, or hear our talk with Rod Newhouse, who was the financial guru of the College Gridiron Showcase. These guys, their 3 days, 3 or 4 days were broken up into parts. In the morning, they'd wake up, 7 o'clock, breakfast. I think 6:30 to 7:30 was that window. So they'd wake up, go to breakfast. They could go back, shower, change, get ready for the day, and then they had seminars. They had like a couple of hours worth of seminars. Then they would break. One group would go to the field The other would wait for interviews from scouts. The group at the field would be doing the drills and practice, and then the other group, once their interviews were done, would then go to the field, lunch, and then the group that was there first would leave, resume interviews back at the convention center, and then the second group would do the drills and practices. And then at the end of that, they would break. They would go back to the convention center, or they would go back. They could shower and get changed. And then they dinner, and then they would sit in a room and wait for scouts to call them in for interviews. And Rod Newhouse was the guy. He was part of those seminars, and he went over the finances, what it means to get drafted. Where is your money really going? How far does your dollar really go? If you get drafted in Green Bay, can you afford as much if you get drafted in Miami? So here he is, financial guru and son of a great cowboy. How about that? Rod Newhouse. All right, Fan Nation, we're in for a real treat at the interview table today. We are concluding day 4 of CGS with the financial guru, the Swiss Army knife of the College Gridiron Showcase, Rod Newhouse. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
This is a treat for me because every player I've talked to, because their video interviews will be posted individually. So it's not like people are hearing the same thing over and over. I mean, we're going to group some interviews together, so some people will hear similar things, but it's never the same interview twice. But every one of them have gone over the day-to-day, the seminars, the being out at McNair Stadium, doing the work, and then, of course, the scout interviews. And every one of them has told me that the financial seminars have blown their mind. Is that something that's a Rod Newhouse thing, or is that I'm about to drop some knowledge on y'all and here it is?
It's just what's been passed down through my father, the people that I grew up with, working in the NFL, my own personal experience in education, and really just telling these guys, literally, this is what it is. Because I'll always tell all of them, it is about trust, but trust is a funny thing. Because you can trust someone who's 100% wrong all the time. As soon as they start being right, you won't trust them anymore. So it's not a right and wrong issue. It's about, hey, I just want someone to tell me and give me information so I can make a informed decision. And that's what I'm trying to do my best to do.
Because you had your stints in the NFL. Your father was a cowboy. So obviously this knowledge comes from not only being passed down from experience as well, and you're just looking to share that experience basically with young athletes who it's life after college ball. The real world is about to happen. And do you ever see an expression on a player that it's like you just woke them up out of a deep sleep? Because this is the soonest that they've had something like this after, they're calling it, and he busts out the Dallas Cowboys rings. Of course he does. I'm a Niners fan, and there's Cowboys Super Bowl rings sitting on the table right now. This is crap.
So you were saying?
I don't have rings I can show off. Man, I'm not going to put them on. I don't even think I'm going to hold them. They can sit there peacefully.
I saw that wink. I got you. No one can see us, so I got you.
So back to the question: Have you ever seen somebody after you've said something where it just looks like their whole world has just come crashing down, and now it's like, wow?
Yes, actually, there's one person in particular. I won't call him out, but there was we went through this process, and he didn't know what he was looking at on the screen, and all of a sudden, as I started doing this budget sheet and pulling the numbers out, you would have literally thought someone was stabbing him. The look on his face was like, what? And that's really what got to me, was me kind of saying, it's unfortunate that some of these young men go through college, and they get this education, and they graduate, but they are not armed with the simple skills that they need to survive.
I think my favorite part of what you've mentioned is talking about the two guys that maybe are friends or came from the same team. They get drafted to different teams. You mentioned Green Bay as an example, L.A. or San Francisco as another. Mm-hmm. Buddy in Green Bay, he just got himself a nice house, a snowmobile, and maybe a big truck for the winters up there.
Yeah.
While your buddy you in San Francisco or L.A., you're struggling to make rent on your apartment. You know, it's like, wow.
That's the big thing that they always see when kind of put 3 columns together and show East Coast, West Coast, and somewhat middle of the country. It's not etched in stone, but it really serves as a good guide because if we break out some of the expenses and I say, look, it's the same money on the East Coast as the West Coast as Central, Middle America. And they the looks on their faces is just like little kids gazing up in the stars, seeing something for the first time. And that's when I really know I have them and they're gravitating towards it because it's real for them. And they start to understand, oh, this is what my mom was telling me. This is what my dad was telling me. Or this is what that professor said, but they just didn't say it that way. How come they just didn't say it how you said it? I don't know what that is. They call it a talent or gift, whatever. I just feel like it's me and my calling and me just giving back information to make people just be more informed.
Yeah, because come August, you're not reporting to camp on campus. You don't know where you're going to be in August because this is where, they're here because they want to make sure that they have their best chances to be somewhere in August, and that's the tough thing to grasp. I think for me personally, it would be, and then you throw in the financial aspect of it, and that's just got to be a mind job. So,
well, I jokingly, seriously tell the guys that I'm a unicorn. I don't exist, and so when you get it from me, it's different.
Yeah,
it's not just a guy who played, or it's not just a guy who is a financial advisor and works with professional athletes. It's not just a guy who happened to read a book and really studied hard in school and got a 4.0. It's real life experience. And I'll share with you, as I shared with them, one of my personal stories is I was a guy who went through a lot of this struggle and the transition, and that's one of the hardest things you do. I literally had, I would say maybe 10 years ago or less than 10 years ago, $16.17 in my bank account on a Wednesday.
Wow.
Barring my 401k that I wasn't touching, but I was waiting on my next check to get here, and I was transitioning into a world that, what am I going to do? How am I going to feed the family? And I'm going to work saying, hey, I hope that they've got something at work to eat because I don't know if I'm going to eat today. And so when I tell that story and the guys look at me and there's all the kind of jokes about, oh, you dress like this, you look like that, you got these degrees, it wasn't easy.
No, it's not easy, man.
It didn't come by me doing all the right things, and I'm not trying to tell you to do what I do. I just want to tell you, hey, here's options. Think about it. Look at it. See what might work for you.
Pick the brain on a couple of these guys with the time that I have, and a lot of them, they all have sort of their own way that they're approaching what life is now in 2019, CGS and beyond. And I remember somebody mentioned years ago Peyton Manning's advice to Andrew Luck. He said, don't go after sponsorships or endorsement deals your first year. Wait till your second year. And then, of course, players like to get endorsement deals and sponsorships because that can pay almost better than what the NFL does. Is there any rhyme, reason, do's, don'ts when it comes to where you're getting your money from when you're in the NFL?
No, I'll say this from a budgeting investment strategy standpoint. When I work with the guys, I like to tell them all the time, I say, hey, the first year we're not doing anything but focusing on ball. Really, whether you're first round or not. I mean, first round is a little different story because the money's different. I'll be bluntly candid about that. But when you're someone like these guys in CGS or later round guys or mid-round guys, I want them to be in a position where they have at least 12 months' worth of salary saved up before they even think about investing in anything. And the reason why is fourth round down is not guaranteed to make it. So you need to focus on being the 53rd, 52nd, 51st person on that roster so you can somewhat solidify yourself. And that comes with the focus of doing such. So don't pay attention to everyone that's coming at you, and that's kind of what Peyton's saying is forget about all that other stuff. It will come if you win. Forget about endorsements. They will come if you win. And if you just simply win, you'll be just fine. I just talked to one of my clients this past year off the cliff with that. He wanted to pay somebody $10,000 to start a website for him.
Wow.
$10,000. And I didn't tell him no. I just started talking to him about it, and he started realizing, wait, what am I doing that for? I said, with all due respect, no one knows who you are. Your team needs to win, and once you win, then they'll know who you are. Long story short, he wound up not doing it, saving the money, and we wound up putting it in something else in a foundation, and he felt so much better about it. So guys need to just slow down, take their time, but with so much media, social media, that's one of the biggest challenges in today's environment.
So, one of the last questions here then for you, being a guy who's been in the game, seen a lot of different aspects of it. When it comes to contract negotiation, obviously players want to be paid what they feel their value is out on the field, what they've either done for the team or could do for the team. But how much do other factors play in, like what you've gone over just in the last couple of days about West Coast, Midwest, North, South, East, cost of living and everything like that? How much does that go into a contract negotiation?
Well, let's be clear. On the front end, it's not like you're going to turn anybody down
Yeah.
if they offer you the opportunity.
Yeah.
However, if you start getting into the second contracts, let's just say the Arizona Cardinals offer you a deal. No. Let's say the Miami Dolphins offer you a $10 million deal. Yet the Buffalo Bills offer you a $15 million deal. $15 million sounds like it's a lot more than 10. We might want to go to that one. But if you think about it, maybe with no state income tax in Florida, versus tax in New York, you really have to look at which one makes more monetary sense. And that's why I tell a lot of guys we need to look at this contract and see which is the better place based on bringing a CPA or a tax consultant into the equation. And that way you make a really valiant decision, because what will happen is it looks good for the agent that you signed a $15 million deal, but it may not be the best deal for you financially to sign that 15 where 10 was just as good.
Feeling good about your contribution to CGS, College Gridiron, and everything it does for the young players?
I hope so, man. I mean, I just want to go out there. I mean, I've been talking a lot these last few days, but I would give it my all, and I could talk all night if they let me, just to be able to give the information that they want, that they need.
He's a compendium of knowledge and all things, and a Swiss Army knife and a unicorn and every other fantastic name you could throw at a guy like this with this much experience and so many shiny rings. All right. He is Rod Newhouse. Hey, man, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All the best.
And once again, thank you to Rod Newhouse for taking the time. It really was a lot of fun to take a look at the financial side, because a lot of these players, man, they came out of that financial seminar like somebody just let a bomb off in their favorite lunchbox or something. Like just this look of utter shock and just like, what? And one of the examples that Rod used, talking about two guys playing same team in college and getting the draft. One gets drafted to San Francisco. The other gets drafted to Green Bay. The guy in Green Bay, he's got a house, a snowmobile, a fancy car. And the guy in San Francisco, he's having a hard enough time making rent on his 2-bedroom apartment, because the dollar value is very, very different, which to me was a crazy realization. You'd think that when it came to contracts for guys that can go to a number of the 50 different states, not all 50, but you get what I'm saying, 32 different cities where they could land in the U.S. And the contracts, they don't match. They might match, but they don't match. Blew my mind. I loved it. So thank you again, Rod Newhouse. And now we're going to go ahead and bring on producer Rob. Shout out to Dynamite Enterprises. Every episode really is brought to you by Ethan, who wants to customize your world. We're working on some stuff right now. His tablecloth that he made for me looked so good at CGS. It really did. I mean, I got so many compliments on my setup. We had a drop and repeat backdrop from Jose, but that tablecloth, man, I'm going to use that at every event that I can and tell them everywhere I go, I just need a 6-foot table. I will do the rest because it looks so good. Have all the logos from all the divisions on there, and then the main one on the top. Oh, such a good look. So thank you, Ethan. If you guys want stuff that looks that good, that can make you look that good, you need to hit up Ethan. DynamiteEnterprises.com. Ethan at DynamiteEnterprises.com. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Just do it. Another big shout out to Undisputed Belts. You're going to see the belt on its third annual tour this year. Fan Show Player of the Game. Where will we stop? Who will it be? But you can get your belt needs fulfilled with Undisputed Belts. Hit them up, undisputedbelts.com, whether it's fantasy football. Congrats to James, who won our fantasy league this year. He's got a belt for himself now. Rob's got a belt. He can probably tell us all about it, too, when he comes on. But Rob's got a belt. James has got a belt now. And if it's fantasy, if it's book club, sibling rivalry, or an office pool, whatever you need a belt for, they'll make a belt for that. And they've got a special right now, a discounted price on 5 or more. So if you've got group awards or something like that, or like a team competition, great idea for it. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with producer Rob and more of the Fan Show right after this. And just like that, we are back. And by we, I mean myself and the great producer Rob, who we reserved today. I mean, it was supposed to be Mark Sessler, but his kids got sick, and so he couldn't do it. But I get a message from this guy. Oh, so the Browns don't suck, and you're going to have Sessler on. It's like, okay. So now here he is to tell us all about how great his Browns were and are and forever will be because of Baker Mayfield and whatever else. It is Rob.
Absolutely, my friend. First of all, as my Brazilian friend says to me, Feliz Ano Novo. Happy New Year, my friend. It is great to talk to you again.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a little while, yes.
It was a good break, though. I needed, I think, doing the best of for the holidays, and then, of course, the stuff that we had going on in Fort Worth with CGS and trying some new stuff, some different stuff there. I think it was a good break. I don't think it would be something that I would do every year, but I think little breaks here and there are good, and this was good. This was good timing. So now we're back, and you're the first special guest live in 2019, and so go ahead and brag about your Browns and how awesome they are at 7-8-1.
Hey, you know what? Compared to 3 wins in the previous 2 seasons, 7-8-1 feels like a Super Bowl. So yes, it is a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
I feel like The Miz is your spirit animal. Like watching his Instagram story and how like gung-ho he got for Cleveland. He even had himself shipped one of those beer cases with the chain that would drop when they actually won a game. And God, that was what, week 3 that happened?
Yeah, and I was very disappointed to find out that apparently I don't have as much clout as The Miz does, because I am the Bud Light Twitter account several times trying to get one of those stupid coolers, and I got nothing.
Well, I think that the Miz should be an honorary captain next year. I mean, I don't know, other than you and maybe Mark Sessler, a passionate Browns fan. But if anybody's going to spin the Browns in a positive light, and it's going to be the awesome one. But I mentioned at the top of the show that the Browns didn't suck. And I was ready to admit that. Poked a lot of fun at them over the years, which I think you guys ended up poking fun at yourselves there after a while. But that tie, when it happened, I said this tie is really going to sting one of these two teams. And it ended up really stinging the Steelers, which I knew that was probably going to be the case. But what I said at the top of the show was, what if that had been a win for you guys? Then that loss to the Ravens, you guys would have finished 8-8, 500, not another losing season. But if it would have been a loss, then you guys would have still been below 500. But it's just that what if that tie would have been one in the win column for you guys, and 8-8 would have been your season? How crazy would that have been?
That would have been nuts, and that game is one of at least 3 that legitimately should have been wins that we didn't have, and there were another couple that could have been wins, but except for a couple, missed calls here or there. But as my friend John's father used to tell me when I was younger, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, then every day would be a Merry Christmas.
I would really like them to revisit overtime, and I think that the time is now for them to, adapt college rule, or at least some form of it, because I think even there was a time where I honestly thought that a football game could not end in a tie, and I think maybe there was a time, but sudden death was better than what we see now, because at least then first team to get in field goal range and successfully convert a field goal would win. And it sucked, if you won the coin toss and you have a great kicker, then all you got to do is get beyond that 50 a few yards and boot it. But for them to do this whole, well, both teams will have a chance to possess the ball unless it's like it might as well be sudden death, because it doesn't do any more for the game, I feel, as far as making it more fair. I'm inclined to disagree only because, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but I have to think that there has been a significantly lowered amount of the one possession overtime games since they've enacted this rule. I feel like more often than not, you're at least getting both teams getting at least one possession in overtime now. I think that the 2 ties I think they had this year, maybe 3. I think there were definitely at least 2 ties. That I think was a bit of an anomaly, but I don't know. I feel like part of me kind of feels like you should be good enough to at least stop a team on one drive to at least ensure yourself a possession in overtime. But then part of me feels like the way they're mucking up the rules to make it a more offensive-friendly league, maybe that's just complete and utter BS. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I don't know the answers either. I have no doubt that the percentage, as you mentioned, is significantly lower as far as teams that never got to possess the ball. I'm sure that the amount of teams that get a chance to possess the ball, or both teams possessing the ball, that number is very, very much higher. But it's the fact that I think the 3 or 4 ties that we've had in the last 2 seasons is like 400% more than we had in like the last decade. And it doesn't help anyone. It hurts more than it helps anyone. And we saw that with the Steelers, and we almost saw it with the Vikings, but they weren't quite on the bubble like the Steelers were. And again, what if that tie would have been a win for them? They wouldn't have had to rely on Cleveland. Oh my God, the irony! Oh.
Yeah, I have to admit it was quite something to see a full Steelers stadium, Heinz Field, cheering for the Browns in Week 17.
God, man, whoever got the shot. I think it was over the shoulder of Juju Smith-Schuster on one knee in the middle of the field watching the Jumbotron. Whoever got that shot, that's like Pulitzer stuff right there, man.
I have a feeling that is going to be memed on Browns Twitter for quite some time to come.
Oh, man. But I like Baker Mayfield. I like him. I don't like him as much as he hates Hugh Jackson, but I do like the kid. I really do. And I think I like him even more every time Colin Cowherd has something negative to say about him, because, God, Cowherd went to Eastern, which is a team that I cover here. I went to Eastern for a couple of years, and just to have that and to have him be such a prick, it's just like, no, okay, no. Like, he picks the worst fights.
Howard's a troll. I mean, let's face it. He is a troll that you know who he is. That's his gimmick. Skip Bayless is the same way. They're trolls.
Yeah.
They say outlandish stuff to get a reaction out of people, knowing that they're going to get a reaction out of people from it. I can't imagine if he has a shred of legitimate common sense in his person that he believes any of the stuff that he spews about Baker. But who knows? That being said, to be fair, and I think I told you this when we talked, the early part of the season, I was a little iffy about the Baker pick when it happened. Being so close, so closely removed from the Johnny Manziel saga. The comparisons were there. Everyone was making them. It was definitely. I was reluctant, but as time went on, and as I looked at the numbers and I looked at his statistics and I looked at everything else, I came to realize that had he been, had he measured 6'2" instead of 6 foot, he would have been the consensus number one pick, and there wouldn't have been a question about it.
Yeah.
Because statistically, he was the most superior quarterback coming out last year. And I think, based upon, the last half of the season, he clearly proved that the game isn't too big for him.
Yeah, and I think there's a bright future in Cleveland. I was a little sad that they didn't keep their interim head coach as the defensive coordinator again, because I didn't think there was really anything wrong with their defense. But it is what it is. They've got
the run defense could have been better, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think he would have stayed had they offered him the position, because I think he wanted to get out and do his own thing.
Fair enough. Well, you guys have Mr. Kitchens, so that'll be interesting.
That to me, that was the key. I feel like it was obvious that he and Baker had a connection. I mean, you can see all the sideline videos that they have of the two of them goofing around together, and it's obvious they have a great rapport. And I feel like if you got it seems obvious that they have found their franchise quarterback. If you have a coach that gets along with him, understands him, and most importantly knows how to play call for him, then you hold on to him like grim death. And if that means making him the head coach maybe a year or two before he's ready, then you make him the damn head coach. So I could not have been happier about them making Freddie Kitchens the head coach. Now, will I feel that same way come this time next year? Who the hell knows? But for now, I like it.
Fair enough. Well, we have the Royal Rumble this Sunday, and then I also mentioned in the headlines the emergence of AEW, All Elite Wrestling. Now, you seem to be someone that is ignoring all the talk that everybody from WWE is going to just up and jump ship. And I agree. I think it is crying wolf right now. Jericho, I understand that Vince is going to act accordingly as far as removing himself from someone like Jericho. But, when Jericho went and wrestled for New Japan that first time against Omega, he called Vince and got his blessing. So I don't think that this is something that came out of left field. And I'm sure that Vince, isn't happy about him wrestling for what it sounds like a competitor. But you're clearly not sold that this is some big ordeal just yet in the wrestling world.
I think it's only natural, especially given, the fact that, the Jacksons, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, they clearly seem to have a plan in place with this. This is not like, just some upstart, out of nowhere thing. It seems like they really have a solid plan in place. They got the Khan family backing them, which, is huge. So yeah, I think it's only natural that people are going to look at, talents like the Revival, who, have allegedly already asked to be released. Underutilized guys like Zack Ryder or Dolph Ziggler, or any of the myriad of names you could think of on the roster right now who are probably being criminally underused. And automatically speculating that they're going to go there. But the fact is, I think Vince is smart enough of a businessman to not just up and let anyone leave if he feels like, A, they can still be of any sort of benefit to him, and B, even more so, be a benefit to, somebody who may or may not in, 5 years' time become a legitimate competitor.
Yeah, and like I said, if your lifestyle... if you don't have a family, kids, a mortgage, or child support, if you can afford what I imagine would be a pay cut for a place just starting out, but if you can afford that And if you want to go somewhere where you feel like you could be an instant star, like I don't know why you wouldn't. And yes, Vince is going to try to hang on to whoever he can. And I think Raw would take the biggest hit because they don't utilize that roster nearly the way that they do SmackDown. So Raw would take a big hit. I think that's probably the hot spot for the most potential talent that is mid to main card level that would leave for a better opportunity. And that's their choice. The Rumble this Sunday looks to be a good one. I am surprised that the Balor storyline going into the Rumble, but I would like to see a SmackDown superstar win the Rumble again. And what SmackDown is doing with the women's division storyline, though, is really pissing me off because they had the perfect setup for Becky Lynch to go in and win the Rumble and challenge Ronda and make the jump and headline with Ronda at WrestleMania and continue that thing. And it's like, what are you doing?
I don't know that they know what they're doing because I have heard any multitude, any combination of possibilities for this. I have heard it's going to be Charlotte and Ronda. I have heard it's going to be Becky and Ronda. I have heard it's going to be a three-way between Charlotte and Becky and Ronda. Who the hell knows at this point? We have some coworkers of mine, and we do before every pay-per-view we will do picks, see who we're going to win. And I predicted that Becky is going to win the title back on Sunday, and that'll be basically be a champion versus champion. I'm sorry, have her champion, Ronda champion, and then have Charlotte winning the Rumble, and then basically somehow they will finagle it so that it turns into a three-way.
Because I had up until the best tag team in the world and the Becky winning the number one contender spot to be in the title match at the Rumble. I had Miz and Becky winning their Rumbles, and I thought that was like ideal setups for both of them, especially Becky, because to go in, call your shot, outlast 29 other women, and then basically come after the baddest woman on the planet. I mean, the stuff writes itself, which I think is probably going to be the biggest thing for AEW, is that they will let the stuff write itself, because Cody, to me, seems like he has his dad's business sense, and his dad was a very good businessman, very smart.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and that is one thing. I especially as it pertains to WWE writing, I think sometimes the product would be better if they did let it write itself and less of having the writers try and do it for them, because some of the decisions that they make are, to be kind, questionable. But yeah, no, I think that is definitely. I mean, and even if you go to like New Japan, Ring of Honor, even Impact now. I mean, that's one thing that they're doing a lot better. Is they have a good in-ring product. Plus, they're not dumbing it down with horrible writing. They're just kind of doing basic old school professional wrestling storytelling and letting that kind of do the job for them. I think that's what you have to do. I mean, it's great to throw a red herring or a weird plot twist into it for keeping it fresh, but it's like some of the stuff that WWE does, it just I don't get it. I don't think anyone does.
I went so far as to say that Becky, if they start the Rumble off, if it kicks off with the women's title match, that Becky would lose to Asuka and then jump in the women's or even the men's Rumble and win and outlast it because she's the man. Not that she's literally a man, but I'm just saying it's
right.
Like that would be such a badass move for her to do, because China was in the men's Rumble, and I know that times were different then, but it has been done before. And there have been just wild cards thrown in there. But I think we'll have a lot of questions answered. Not that I'll be a fan of what those answers are, but it'll be a lot of fun. I was worried about NXT, but I really like what NXT has going on. I think this is probably hands down their best roster since when they had it stacked with the likes of Balor and Joe and even Austin Aries. So it's a good time to be a wrestling fan right now. And we will see what happens with the Rumble, and it'll be our setup for WrestleMania, of course. Do you have a pick for the Super Bowl? You even gonna watch?
I'll watch. Yeah. I very well may be drunk by halftime, but I'll watch. Yeah, I don't know. My heart wants to see the Rams win just because I'm tired of the Patriots. I think everyone outside of New England pretty much is, but it's hard to bet against the Patriots in the postseason. They always seem to find a way to make something happen. It was funny because after on the game Sunday, after Kansas City went and took the lead late in the game, I'm like, if anyone thinks this game is over when you give Tom Brady 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you're dreaming. And sure enough, he drove right down and scored. It's like you just can't count them out. So yeah, I don't know. If you're gonna put a gun to my head and make me pick, I'm picking the Rams just because I'd rather see the Rams win.
Yeah, and I like the Rams not because I don't like the Patriots, but I know he won't be playing in it. But obviously they've got some Eastern guys, specifically Cooper Kupp, and I'd love to see them get a ring. It's unfortunate that his season ended early, but he'll be there in spirit, and he definitely helped them get there. But the other guys from Eastern, they're representing the Pacific Northwest as well right here in my backyard. So good luck to them. Really pulling for those guys, and it'll be interesting to see. So enjoy the Rumble. I'm sure we'll talk throughout, and then you'll have to let me know what your plan is for some upcoming events. But I promised you that you would get a chance to talk all about your Rams, and I have held up my end of the deal. So we'll see what next season has in store for our teams.
You are nothing if not a man of your word, Ty Man, and I appreciate that.
All right, he's producer Rob, ladies and gentlemen. You take care of yourself.
You too, brother.
Bye.
Bye.
And that is going to do it for this first episode back after, 2-month hiatus break thing, vacation. I don't know what you call it, but it was much needed, and we spent our time wisely. So again, go and check out the Facebook page. There's links to the YouTube channel as well, which is where you can find all of our video content. Audio content, such as new episodes, are available on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, and, of course, iHeartRadio. And you can listen live on Spreaker.com/user/TheFanShow. There's a chat feature. If you'd like to join in on the conversation, you can tweet at me at FanShowOfficial. Don't forget to follow along on the Instagram, The Fan Show, and give us a like and a couple of shares on the old Facebook page, Facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. We're on we're on Snapchat, The Fan Show, but I hardly ever use it. It's like so many social medias. I can only handle the big three, and I'm really just so turned off by Snapchat. I really am. So sorry, not sorry, but that's the way it is. So again, thank you for everyone that tuned in. It's been too long, so hopefully we're not gone this long next time. But until next time, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and remember, of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night!
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.